What is wrong with the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation? What's wrong with them? They won't do the job, right? Let me give you some history, okay? The first time I ever had a problem with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, I was 20 years old, okay? I had met a girl when I was, let's see, I think 19, right? I think 19. Okay. And we dated for some time. You know, her parents lived in a multi-million-dollar home. There was something suspicious about the whole ordeal. They lost the home they were living in, or they didn't own it, I don't know. And I wound up moving in a small rental. And then, okay, now I'm a Shakespeare, and the Shakespeares and her family, the Shakespeares forbid me that, the relationship would ever get serious, So I eventually got tired of all the arguments, and I just broke up, right? Okay, well then, everything went to hell, okay? She still comes around and she sees me and she says, "Lynn, I'm pregnant." I said, "Well, is it mine or is it somebody else's?" I said, "Well, when we were going out not that long ago, you just had a quickie in the copy room with the owner of the newspaper, or the owner's son of the newspaper." She goes, "Yeah, okay, that and somebody else too, but I think it's yours." "Well, maybe it's not, I don't know." And I said, "Well, I'm not gonna get serious with you, So, so we continued to stay apart, right? Well, all hell started breaking loose, right? Now, I had been warned ahead of time that she gets people in trouble, okay? In fact, there was a future Hollywood star that I had a chance to go out with that warned me. She says, "Lynn, I'm telling you, stay away from her. She's trouble," right? So what happened was, all hell starts breaking loose. People start running me off, trying to run me off the road, my friends too. And then I start getting shot at, chased by different cars, okay? Breaking up with her was like trying to leave organized crime. It really was, and I think maybe, there might have been some connection there, right? Well, anyway, for everything that was happening to me, I got accused of. I got accused of terrorism, threats, terrorism, threats, and I think that's pretty much it, okay? So anyway, the FBI had recordings of me that sounded like me, but it sounded like I was drunk, but I don't drink. I said, "Well, that can't be me, because I don't talk like that," right? Well, anyway, they came to my home looking for explosives. Of course, there was nothing here, okay? And they said, "Well, Lynn, we want you to come down and give a statement, and we'll give you a ride down." And I said, "Yeah, okay, fine, I'll do that." Well, when I got down there, they took me to the fire department where they do fire drills, where they set this building on fire, and they go in there and they do the fire practice, right? And they had a little cubicle set up with a halogen, like a real bright halogen light that would burn you right down low. And they had this pre-typed statement they wanted me to type. And I said, "What's this?" I said, "You want me to come down here and give a statement, and now you're sticking me under this light that's burning me and forcing me to sign something I can't even read because it's so bright." "Well, we want you to admit to all these crimes." I said, "What crimes? I didn't do nothing." "Well, then maybe so, but we want you to admit to them." I said, "Oh, hell no." Well, then I'm there for hours. I couldn't make a phone call, okay? I'm not at a police station. I'm somewhere else. I couldn't call a lawyer, right? They wouldn't let me get away. They forced me to sit under this halogen light, burning me, right? Can't go to the bathroom, can't pee, right? Well, then eventually, two guys come in, which from what I understand, work for the Federal Bureau of Investigation. "Lynn, here's how it's going to be. We want you to sign that, and if you don't, worse things are going to happen to you. You're going to have an accident. You're going to sign that. You're going to sign that, and you're going to admit to all those things even though you didn't do it. And what's going to happen is you're going to go along with it, and oh, hell, you may have to serve a little bit of time, and well, maybe you might just get probation and then that'll be it. And I said, why the hell am I going to do that? Well, because our governor, our governor, the guy at that time, he says, the governor, he's trying to get this bill passed. We can't find anybody to pin it on. So what we had to do is we found you, and, well, it didn't exactly fit, but we made it work. So, just sign it and get it over with. Oh, you'll be famous. See, you'll be part of history. I said, oh, hell no. Well, after being there for hours, I eventually signed the damn thing because I couldn't get away. And I'm burning under this light. They gave me the handcuffs. They forced me to put them on myself. Never read me my Miranda rights. Took me to the police station, which wasn't too far away. Did the fingerprints, booked me, right? Never went to jail. Instead, I sat on a counter or a bench. I sat on a bench. And I sat there for a long time too, and I'm going, oh my God, I gotta pee, I want to go pee. They wouldn't let me go pee, right? Excuse me. Then this guy comes up and sits next to me, really close, right? Shoulder to shoulder. But there's nobody else on the bench. He kind of sat further down. He starts talking to me. Well then, I said, what am I supposed to do? He said, well, I don't know. Why don't you go up to the counter and ask him what you're supposed to do? So I go up to the counter, which is right across from the bench, and they tackle me to the floor. And then somebody yells, we got it! Throw his ass out! So they open up the door, and they throw my ass out. So I'm in the middle of Cedar Rapids there with the police department, right? There ain't no cell phone for like miles, a mile and a half or so. So I gotta walk till I find a cell phone, right? Or not a cell phone, a pay phone. And I ain't got no change on me to even make a phone call, right? So I got to figure out some way to contact my mom and contact a lawyer if I need to, right? Well, and then when I finally get to the lawyer and they found out what had happened, they claim that that guy that sat on that bench was an informant, and I squealed and told him everything. Never happened. So I fought it and fought it and fought it. They tried to set me up for 22 years for something I never did. 22 years, right? But they also got my girlfriend to say stuff too. Now, kind of find out, from what I understand, okay, the kid that she was going to have, she was pregnant, is now in her 30s. This was a long, long time ago, right? And once this had happened, she just disappeared. Okay. Now, they had got her to also give statements, right? Because according to her, the statements that she gave, her and I was never together, so there's no way we could have, done the deed, right? Pretty darn hard to file for child support and say that someone's the father of the kid when the FBI makes you give a statement that says you're never together. Interesting, right? So that's my first instance with the FBI. The second one's worse. My second part with the FBI is I was working, let's see, well, there was something that happened in between. I was offered a job as a security position for a foreign country, and the government wanted me to take the position. I did security at a place that melted down currency for the federal government, or, for the, they melted down currency for the Federal Reserve, right? Now, I learned when I was offered the security position that there was other people of my last name that did security advisor work for the government, and I didn't know this, okay? I was told that when I shortly after offered a job, and the government got mad when I wouldn't take it, all right? But now, I left that job, okay? And I was trying to get an internet social site started. You know of it now as Facebook, okay? Because Facebook's history isn't what you've been told. But we'll get to that here in a little bit, okay? So anyway, I took smaller jobs. I wound up at the local landfill, okay? Local landfill is like 15, 20 minutes from my home, okay? While there, a faded out black square-bodied Honda car pulls in along with a government vehicle. And they come to my building, which I was supervising doing recycling, and they had an argument earlier in the day, okay? And the square-bodied Honda was a double agent working for the government, getting the terrorists ready, and he had two of the future terrorists with him for 9/11. This was May of 2000, okay? Now, I'm going to say some things here that always sound far-fetched, but I guarantee you it is 100% the truth, okay? So anyway, it started out, the government double agent came in, and he's trying to get me to take all this mountain of evidence and hide it. Okay, he says that the FBI agent, he doesn't want anybody to know about this. He says, I'm trying to whistleblow because we're having a disagreement. They're going to pin it on me. Oh, okay. I said, well, I don't believe you. Well, so he starts showing me this evidence and telling me what's going to happen. Tells me the complete plans of 9/11. We knew when the airplanes were going to fly off. We knew when they were going to hit. We knew everything a year and a half in advance. Okay? I got to see this binder. Can you see that? About that thick. This was all the future plans of these groups within the government for world domination. Right? Oh man, I learned about a lot of stuff. Right? He's also even told me about going to war with the plans to go to war with Iraq, looking for some tech to create or information to create a thing to control time. And he's talking about, this part sounds unreal, I know. Talks about aliens, okay? And I thought, you know what, okay. Yeah, I always thought that was kind of interesting, and I got some interest in it, but I don't believe you, you know? And then he says, you know what? Now that I'm telling you, and now you're involved in this, he goes, you're probably going to see them too. I said, yeah, whatever. Anyway, he leaves. The FBI agent comes in, demanding to know what was said and what was thrown out. And when he's seen it, the FBI agent would not take it with him. If he would have taken it with him, he would have known the grand plans of the world domination. He would have known about the 9/11 plans. They could have stopped it. But instead, he says to me, I want you to get rid of it for nobody can ever see it again. Burn it, bury it, I don't care, but I don't ever want it to surface ever again. And if it does, I'm going to come back and bad things are going to happen, right? Right? Okay. Well, we didn't follow the orders. He was pointing at us and demanding that we would do it, and some of it got taken to another location, okay, in the recycling process, and that caught on fire because apparently they figured out where it was at. But some of it just got set off to the side. We didn't take it home at that point. We just set it off to the side because, you know, we don't want to destroy evidence, you know, of a terrorist attacks, right? Anyway, he came back later after he found out that it didn't get destroyed, and he says, you didn't follow orders. I'm threatening you with treason. You're going to go to prison or you're going to get shot. And he says, if I have to, I'll kill every one of your family members, your friends and your coworkers too, and anyone else you told, and I'll throw your ass in a prison where nobody else will find you, or we'll go drop you off one of our areas in a foreign country and we'll torture you and have fun, or we'll just drop you in the ocean. Okay? This is the Federal Bureau of Investigation. So after he left, I was told by the manager of the site, Lynn, you got to go home. You can't work here no more. So I went home. Now, I was going to go back and do security work again for government accounts until that happened. And then I became a monitored government witness. Isn't that interesting? Monitored government witness. Oh, Lynn, you know, this is FBI talk. Lynn, you cannot tell anybody about those plans. You cannot get involved with this. We've got too much time and too much money invested in 9/11, and you are not going to get in our way. Okay. Okay. Well, I went on a vacation with my friend, and we came back, and interestingly enough, you know, that double agent was talking about aliens. That was the first time we've seen the aliens. You're thinking I'm nuts, right? Well, it's interesting. It's just like he said. He says, you know, you can't see them with your eyes because you can't see the frequency. But the camera will let you see them. Sure enough, we just bought a new camera. We're trying to use it and it ain't working. would just go, because the image is swirling, right? Because they can mess it up. And sure enough, in every photo we took and filled up the entire camera, there was the aliens, and they were moving around the room. Crystal clear. You could see the uniforms with symbols on them. The one had like a hood over him, and he looked like a reptilian. Sure enough. All right. The FBI again. I'm getting death threats. People are dying. People are dying. Lots of people are dying. And then I get phone calls. You got to quit having contact with people. All those deaths are going to be on your conscience and your shoulders. This is the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Right? Well, the FBI came to my home. They're already monitoring me. Okay? They got vehicles parked all around this big country block. Right? They follow me everywhere I go. They're monitoring my phone. They're monitoring my internet. They know everything that's happening. But the FBI comes to my house because let me file a report of the death threats because they want to know where all that evidence is at. They're afraid some of it just might surface again. So the FBI comes to my house, so let me file the report on all the death threats, and sure enough, some co-workers had that evidence, and they brought it all together, and we set it on that table for that, file that report. And that FBI agent says, I know what you're trying to do. We wanted to know where that was at. But I don't see it. I don't accept it. Therefore, I don't accept it. I'm not going against my orders. That's interesting. You hear that? This was still before 9/11. 9/11 could have been averted. Right? But then, the evidence, the majority of it, all just kind of mysteriously came up missing when I wasn't home. Both left. Interesting, isn't it? So what's wrong with the FBI? Okay? Now, after the FBI got done with me, 2003, they had the committee hearings, but they're starting to ease up on me. They said, you can have contact with people now, but you just can't talk about what's happening during the committee hearings. Okay. I let Marcel Elliott Zuckerberg stay at my home. You know him as Mark Zuckerberg. He learned of this business plan that I was working on trying to get this internet social site started that was going to help fund free clinics and shelters. It was to help my friend that was paralyzed to have less barriers and more possibilities, more opportunities, to bring the world to her, right? The site was to create money. My sister worked for a marketing and research company, Frank Magid and Associates. Between her and me, we figured out how to create the algorithm to collect information at a faster, easier, right, than doing phone surveys. I used experiences from friends and family to create it. I had the girlfriend that I was talking about before, the one I got in trouble with. She did advertising designer to be sold on the site, right? Anyway, Mark learned what I was doing, because when he was here, he was in the same acting club with my friends, and I said, hey, Mark, can you do the coding for me? Because I said, I have no problem borrowing the money to start the site. That's not the problem, but I can't find anybody to do the coding, and my friend that's in the same act club too, he won't help me or help me find somebody else. Mark says, yeah, I'll help you. He said, I'll help you for being an investor. And he said, then I'll find you the other investors too, which he did. Then Mark Howitson, his friend and mentor, which is also an attorney for property rights, gets involved, convinces Mark Zuckerberg to ask me if he can just use my intellectual work to create the site for a return percentage. An agreement was done. Mark bitched because it was too high. Right? Oh yeah, by the way, this was to help find a cure for neuromuscular diseases, to find a cure, because MDA was ending. Remember not MDA, excuse me. To help find a cure for neuromuscular diseases because the MDA telethon was ending. Jerry Lee Lewis was quitting, right? So this was right at that really good time that we needed this, right? All right. So he asked me, we have an agreement. But then at the end of the agreement, after we had witnesses, written, recorded in multiple ways, Mark Howitzon's on the phone that's going to create a binding, going to create a binding contract for all of us to sign. And then at the end, Zuckerberg says to me, Lynn, I want you to say on these recordings that you gave your intellectual work to me and all the intellectual rights to it. I said, oh, hell no. If I do that, then you don't owe me a dime. I ain't doing that. Then he got mad and threw a fit, went around and started destroying everything. He threw a cassette tape of a mini recorder and a pot. He opened up an Advantix film camera, ripped open the back of it, exposed it, grabbed my digital camera and formatted it, and then the video was recorded by Mark's new Sony CD camera. It was new for that year in 2003. Okay? So then, and he was there at my home on Labor Day weekend of 2003 with the school bus that he had bought. That's why he was at my home. He had bought us, okay, so we got in trouble at Harvard, right? This we know. He got in trouble at Harvard. He came to Iowa, was going to take classes at Iowa State. He bought himself a school bus he was going to live in at Iowa State. He needed parts to turn it into a schoolie. I let him stay at my home to get out of the parts. Stay Labor Day weekend 2003 with him, the bus, a dog, and Priscilla Chan. Okay? On the last day, he had Priscilla Chan occupy me while he hurried and grabbed all of my intellectual work and then flew out of the driveway with that big school bus. And then he went answer an email or a phone call, and I call his dad, and his dad says, I'm sorry, I never heard of him before. I called the lawyer, his friend and mentor, I never heard of him before, I can't help you. I see on TV, Mark's getting all famous. He's got my notebook. Hey, look, somebody give me the plans for $1 billion internet social site and so much more. He stole from my home. The battle of Facebook begins. His friends that were stealing out of my notebook and creating the stuff that was in it are fighting over Facebook, right? And they knew Mark couldn't reveal that he ripped it off from my home. But then Mark pulled a fast one. Mark Howitson called me representing Mark Zuckerberg. Lynn, I need you to give a statement that you gave that intellectual work to Mark Zuckerberg. And by the way, I want you to give a statement saying that you wanted to remain anonymous as an author and you want Mark Zuckerberg to create a new creation history. Does that go right along with what he said happened? I said, that's not what happened. I said, he ripped me off. I said, you guys tried to get an agreement with me and you entered into it and then Mark stole it. I said, what about that? Well, now we don't want you to ever come forward, and if you do, we're going to cause you trouble. We're going to make that up too and nobody's ever going to know any different. The government was still listening into my phone. They heard it, okay? And they wouldn't help me. They should have brought me into that court case at the Supreme Court, and they wouldn't. We're talking about the FBI and the DOJ again, right? But instead what they did is they offered me an alternative. They said, Lynn, we can't have you exposed because we got to protect that plausible deniability. Nobody can know about 9/11. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of them just like we did all the other witnesses, quick and clean. I said, well, that's not going to work. I said, I need a return for my intellectual work. Well, you know, as a patriot. I said, what? I said, well, as a patriot, yeah, well, we know you didn't like going along with this. We forced you into it. But as a patriot, you deserve a favor from the top. So, we're going to take care of this. It'll be quick and clean. And then, you know, something good's coming your way. I said, no, I don't want that to happen. So they went on their own. They didn't go after Mark Howitson and Mark Zuckerberg. Instead, they went after a contractor instead that I had a problem with in a different state. And they set him up for tax evasion and a whole bunch of other things, and he was facing prison. In fact, they threw him out of his multi-million-dollar home and seized everything. Federal marshals went and seized everything that he had. That's the FBI did that, by the way. Okay? And then Eddie Tipton finds me. Eddie Tipton was this famous person in the newspaper because he worked for the lottery. And he figured out a way to rig it. He was the one that created the algorithm for the lotteries. So he finds me. Lynn, I want you to play these numbers. Make sure you use the multiplier, and you're going to become a multimillionaire. And then just keep quiet and don't tell anybody and just fade away in the background. I said, what? Well, I didn't even have enough money to play. I was broke. So I had to borrow the money from my friends. So he got the numbers too, to play them. Well, we couldn't play the same numbers in the same place. In fact, we should play them like, hundreds of miles apart, right? Well, anyway, just as I said, multimillionaire overnight. He got to keep his money, but I went to the Hy-Vee grocery store in Marion to check on my ticket. I didn't believe it'd be real. And the lady at the counter was giving me trouble, and I was sick, and she said, well, you can't turn that ticket in here. And I'm kind of arguing with the lady, and this guy grabbed the ticket, and he runs out the door. And the lady says to me, starts laughing. She goes, ha, 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 you were a multimillionaire. Oh, you were. I said, well, then somebody go get my damn ticket and call the law. So I go out the door. The guy gets in a station wagon, and you can see he was homeless. All of his possessions are strapped on the top of the station wagon and inside, and he's there with his elderly wife, or six elderly. And I just didn't have the heart to do it. Oh, I started to cry. I just didn't have the heart to do it. I went back home, my head low. A couple of days later, I see in the news, a guy and his wife were found dead in the parking lot. No mention of the lottery ticket. Lottery ticket was cashed. Somebody became a multimillionaire. Somebody apparently found the ticket on the dead person, cashed it in. Didn't tell anybody where they got it from. FBI. What is wrong with the FBI? Why don't you do this job? Now, in a time period between 2000 and 2006, I'm guessing, right? And it's in that time period. Now, see, I met Mark through him getting parts from me to make his school bus into a schoolie. But there was another incident. It was very serious, but the government didn't want to draw attention to me. So it was just swept under, for nobody would know. I went to go look at an RV. I knocked on the door, and the guy opened up the door, and the smell of the rotting dead overwhelmed me. He took me around back, showed me the outside of the RV, and he wants me to haul it off. And I said, I am not hauling it off unless I can see what's in it, because people fill it full of garbage. He goes, well, that's the only way you'll take it? I said, that's the only way I'll take it. Well, hold on, let me see if I can straighten it up a little bit on the inside. So he goes in there and he does something, and then he says, all right, you can go in now. I can see outlines on the floor where dead people had laid. Flies everywhere. We're standing there. As we were talking, the bed falls down, and I see what looks like a half dried up, rotting corpse wrapped in pallet wrap, and then on top of it was like an old army blanket. And I go, is that a dead person? Oh, no. He says, no. He grabs it and throws it, lifts it back up, and puts it back up in there. So we get to the middle, and we're talking, and it has a nice stainless steel kitchen for an older RV. This is a huge thing. Got a big bedroom in the back. So we're standing there talking, and I opened up the stainless steel microwave. I said, oh, these are always cool. And I thought, well, that's a mouse nest in there. Now, wait a minute now. That's a woman's face. He goes, hey, you're not supposed to be in there. And he shuts it. Well, then the back door into that bedroom opens up. Now, the whole front area and the middle area is all covered in flies and stinks like the rotting dead. But the back door to the bedroom opens up, and it's painted fuchsia. The canopy bed looks like some big fantasy, and you can smell cherry incense. Okay? You can smell cherry incense. And then all along that big area, that room, is what I thought was life-size dolls. Okay? Neatly posed, right? And I'm looking at that, and I'm thinking, clean, looks like a fantasy, stinks like the rotting dead. Holy shit! Are those people? The guy was taxiderming people into love dolls. Well, when that corpse fell out from that front bed, I said to that, is that a corpse? And he goes, oh, well, I do taxidermy, he says, and people just don't understand. But when I seen that, and I said, oh my God, is that really people? He goes, well, you had to see it, didn't you? Now you've seen too much, right? And he says, well, if you don't like that, you really don't want to see what's in the cabinet. Skin suits from dead people. So he can put the skin suits on and get in sexual poses with his love dolls made out of real people. Okay? So the guy pulls a gun on me. He's going to shoot me. Some quick thinking, I managed to get away. My mom drove that day in a huge lady in a 92 Plymouth Laser, small car. She barely fits into that thing, right? There's no way that guy could move her, okay? He was trying to get rid of this RV because he had cancer, and he's trying to get rid of all the evidence before he dies, but nobody knows all these crimes that he did, okay? And I used to supervise convicts on work release when I was younger, and I said, I used to supervise convicts. I said, I became friends with, trying to get on his good side, I become friends with some of these people. You got to get rid of all this before you get caught. I'm telling you, you need to get rid of all this, so I'm getting psychology. Really, I do, he says. Oh, yeah. So you're not down on this? You think I need to get rid of it? Yeah, okay. So he decides my mom's too big. She can't get her out of the car. So he says, well, you give me 24 hours. You give me 24 hours, Lynn. He said, I'll have this all cleaned up and nobody will ever know. So he let me go. Okay? So I get into the car. Mom and I are arguing about going to the law. But we've been warned. Never bring attention to myself. So the FBI knew what had happened. They swept it under the rug. There's a serial killer in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, that had an RV full of dead corpses turned into love dolls. I would guess, it'd be 10, 20, 30. He could have had as many as 30 to 40 of them just in that one room alone. That's not including the skin suits in the cabinet, the long one that he made down the side. Okay? And the face of the person that I seen that was in the microwave looked very similar to Husentrut, the reporter from Iowa that has been missing. What is wrong with the FBI? Now, I've been trying to whistleblow to get them to help me with Mark Zuckerberg, and no matter what, they won't get off their ass. I offered the FBI to help them solve missing persons. This is huge. That in the RV, what happened, okay? But I seen some other stuff. I was out fishing one day, and there's two big suitcases shot full of holes, and you could tell by that outline there was people in them. Holy shit, I left there, and some people threw them in the damn river. Hey, go get them out of the river. Called the authority. We ain't gonna bother. They threw them in the river. We ain't doing anything about it. Right? There you go, FBI again. Right? What is wrong with the FBI? Okay? But wait a minute. Didn't I mention something about that alien bit? Do you know I got warned about that too? Somebody took on when the government came here and let me file that report over the death threats, okay, they wanted a copy of all the photos I had of the aliens that we took with one camera, right? But then the original disappeared too. It's all gone, okay? Okay? This deal with Mark Zuckerberg, this is why I'm doing this video, because you ways people won't get off their ass and help me. Now, I took Mark Howitson up to the Supreme Court to try to prove that he uses his knowledge to construct Mark how to commit intellectual property theft and fraud and get away with it, right? I had witnesses, and at the last moment, two of the witnesses contacted me. Well, there was a brother two brothers, okay? One's a state trooper for Iowa. And he said, Lynn, I was going to help you, but they just offered me more money than winning the ultimate lottery, and I'm going to take it. I'm sorry, but I have to. 2 hours later, he's dead in the line of duty. Within an hour after that, just as it became public, the Supreme Court contacts me and says, you no longer have a witness, you'll never have a case, this is done, it's dismissed. That quick. It wasn't even a letter in the mail, it was an email. I need your help. I'm going to keep doing videos. Who knows what government secrets I'm going to expose, because I'm going to tell you something. I know so many. The people would be absolutely shocked. I'm going to do what I can to bring notice, because I don't want Mark Howlett and Mark Zuckerberg to keep getting away, and I should not be broke. Mark Zuckerberg should have paid me what he agreed to pay me for using my intellectual work. Free clinics and shelters should have been funded. There should have been a cure funded for neuromuscular diseases. I have Emery-Dreifuss muscular dystrophy. I am living on absolutely nothing. Mark Zuckerberg needs to be exposed for what they did. That social network movie, the social network book, that was just part of the fraud to hide the crimes that they did. Do not ever say to me, oh, we're sorry, too much time has gone by because you didn't do your job. Get off your ass.